Hi, everybody. It's Help Me Be Me, and this is an episode about creating space and creating coherence. And by that, I mean really teaching your body how to regulate and calm down and come back into uh, that locus of control, that center, that calm, wise center. Um, the word coherence I like because it is kind of like, I think, translating onto a cellular level. Your body, when we get fearful and constricted, we're kind of telling our body to freak out, and we're telling ourselves um, something's wrong, and we're creating all sorts of effects. We're holding energy. We're also creating so many other effects that aren't necessarily good for you. So, in the simple act of calming down and regulating, we're teaching ourselves to kind of be open again, be in that state of regulation where we have more access to wisdom and creative thought. So, um, this is a return to that quiet reserve when the world gets overwhelming or intense, or we have factors that trigger us into a state of fear. And I think that what I'm calling center is really just a state of non-reactivity where we can hold space. And often to get back there, really all we need to do is have a memory that we can trust ourselves and that we've been here before, and that yes, everything will be okay. And we can float over those waves. We can jump as they pass over us, and we can not be taken down by them. Um, and when we practice these tools and we teach ourselves to regulate and we foster that center, we can kind of observe the drama. We can stay outside of it and just observe it. And we become our own resource in many ways. Um, I think what can happen throughout life is you can be feeling good, feeling regulated, and then something will come up where you'll feel triggered and will go into an old state of panic. And that old state could be anything. It could be um, freaking out at a number on a scale, or it can be freaking out that we didn't get a job that we interviewed for, or losing a status of some sort, like a title or a relationship, or some sort of whatever it is. It triggers a narrative, a mental narrative of scarcity. And it initiates kind of a longer script. And it's such a weird, old, familiar channel in your body. It's like your body is saying, like, now everything's wrong. And like, oh no. It's almost like it initiates its own little set of mental stories. And I think of these stories as kind of like that fear charge in your body as equivalent to unhealth, because your body is receiving this message that you're not safe and that you should be in a threat state. And so it's almost like energetically telling you, um, you know, that you're in illness in many ways. And I think that is kind of what I'm speaking to in this episode is how to calm yourself down and how to reset reality anew. Because when you can do that, when you can, in the moment, you notice that the old fear tape is playing and you can reset to this um, memory of openness, trust, safety, the future becomes more possible. There's a totally different outcome and awareness of the future that opens up. And um, I think that it also catalyzes different interactions with our close relationships. Like when we can resume that state of I'm safe, I'm okay, we have very different interactions with those around us because they receive so much information from us energetically, not just verbally, not just on you know, observing our physical cues. There's an actual exchange of energy. So we change a lot when we regulate ourselves. Um, so, with that, this is an episode about coming home to coherence and order and imagining yourself as perfect, balanced, trusting your body, trusting your energy, and restoring your balance. And all of this is kind of like in a meditation of sorts. And I'm not talking like go off and meditate for 20 minutes. This is really just like a brief reflection to kind of reset. The other thing I wanted to bring up before I go into my tools in this episode is this concept of the second arrow of judgment. That is a pretty common concept in, I think it's in Buddhism, but second arrow of judgment is just basically if you experience pain or you experience something that is difficult, that's one version of the pain. And then there's the second arrow, which is like the mental narrative that judges the pain. And that is the part that gives us the most uh, suffering. It's just the mental rumination, the mental narrative, the mental complaining, powerlessness, struggle with the fact that we experienced the pain in the first place. So that part is what I want to work on a lot in this episode because it's totally optional. We can skip it altogether. And we can skip it by just heading off the rumination at the beginning and kind of teaching ourselves a new response to it, which is coming from a much higher, more wise decision maker, like what I like to call the highest self. When we can really resume trust and like let go of that job of rumination, that second arrow of disorder that's telling your body go into threat, be scarce. When you can skip that, the world changes and like every outcome changes. I was just listening to an interview. I think it was a Rick Rubin interview. He was talking to somebody who, and they were discussing the fact that math kind of destroyed science, and that that was because the beginning of when science became really about fame and like writing scientific papers and getting published and all of those papers were very much based on percentages and like if a large enough percentage of people has a thing, then it must be true. Before that, science was very much an open, creative, possibility based, long term exploration process. Like if you think about Darwin and like observing, animals in the South Pole and being like, huh, what's that about? And then investing many, many years into curiosity and inquiry. Science was much more exploration based, much more open ended, much more curiosity based before the scientific paper became like the dominant medium. And now I do think culturally we are very data driven, we are very numbers driven. And because that is kind of where we default to, we have undervalued for many years the importance of um, the felt, intuitive, um, more open, non conclusive uh, feedback we get from ourselves and how really concrete that is, that information is. You know what I mean? Like, um, we have so much that we can learn about ourselves and that we can change about ourselves and we can teach ourselves that purely exists in this world of the felt and really in visualizations, in kind of tuning our energy and really allowing ourselves to be open to forces that we can't necessarily see. And so I think that is something that I'm personally in my own life trying to really focus on and be more aware of. And I also think it's something that shows up in quality of life in terms of why we choose to do certain things in our lives. So much of what has motivated a lot of people, including myself, in like professional realms is this, you know, these data driven quote unquote uh, outcomes like merit equals likes, merit equals awards, merit equals popularity, whatever it is. Like that has become such a like format for striving. However, when you do what you do for the reason of really, really caring about it and really having passion and genuine emotion for the thing, for the act in itself, um, that is where the that's where innovation lives. That's where emotion lives. That is where art lives. And as an individual who's an artist or who's a creative person, when I create from that place, the joy I experience is vastly greater. And also, I can I can create from a place of flow. And the way that I think it's received by the people who are meant to receive it is much more emotional. It rings in a deeper, truer place. And I think that is something that has been lost, but in at least in like popular culture, but is slowly starting to gain more and more um, import in a lot of people's lives. Like people are kind of like looking backwards and thinking like, wait a minute, what did we lose that used to make a lot of people very happy? And I think it's like the why, the why you're doing something. It's when things come from an authentic place, the the end product cannot be calculated because it's not being born of a goal. You're not calculating it for a specific outcome, like a specific number or a specific, it's going to look like XYZ. It's arrived at through an organic process. Oftentimes, it's a very experimental, open, free one. We're being influenced by other forces to get to the outcome, and we're experiencing it as a process. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is when we can change, when we can first of all remember that we used to create from that place originally, and that we were much more free, we had much more of a strong intuition to know what we wanted to express to the world. When we can create from that place, and we can really foster that sense of openness in ourselves, and really like trusting ourselves, giving ourselves the space to create without placing demands on our shoulders of what the thing should be or what we should be or what the outcome will be. I think we end up making better work, and we also we change the world, and we also end up being way happier, and we actually like what we've created way more. So that may or may not feel resonant for you, depending on like what you do in your life. I think that everybody does something creative, though. I think everybody does something that is an expression born of self, and no matter what field or discipline you're in. So I just offer that as food for thought because I think it's almost like a trick of focus. Like we forgot to focus here. We've been focusing over there on at least on a professional creative work level as a culture. Well, all of that said, here are some tools for kind of creating coherence in yourself and creating space in yourself to just allow. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Okay, the first tool, my brand of scarcity. I think we all have what I'll call like these kind of characters that come up that have the energy of fear and scarcity, and they're usually pretty old, and they're related to however we started to create this illusion of control over powerlessness in our lives. And I just wanted you to become aware of whatever your common characters are that occur in your rumination, because I want you to become aware of the ones that you're actively shedding and the ones that are old, that you're just kind of greeting at the door, soothing, and then allowing them to dissipate. These characters might recur from time to time, And they usually come up in times of uncertainty or powerlessness. And whatever yours are, just jot them down or bring them to mind. They might be topics like stability, like money. They might be things like title or some sense of importance. Might be something to do with weight or appearance. Might be something to do with being valued by somebody else, like a relationship. Whatever they are, just jot down your characters. Maybe give them a brief byline, like what their summary is. And then the second half of this, which will take a little bit more time, I want you to recall like whatever thing is coming up for you recently. Like let's say it's scarcity of a job. I want you to now respond by giving that character historical context and calm them. Like basically recall the moments in your past when this thing came to a head and then it was fine and everything was fine and that thing passed. The moments you overcame it. And if you can't recall exact memories, you can just bring into your body a recollection of the faith that you absolutely did move past that fear because you did. You quite literally did. The thing was proven false. The end of the world perception was proven false. It is demonstrated to have been false many times in your past. So this is just like a there kind of proof point for whatever your character is that might be coming up. All right, the next tool, universal ping pong, which is basically a visual prompt for rumination. So the one that I'm bringing up is somebody I know, their prompt, but I invite you to think on another visual metaphor that really works for you. Um, when you have a rumination thought that comes up, like the scarcity character or the number on the scale character or the whatever it is, um, basically the visual prompt is a metaphor that or a visualization that will create a prompt to be non-attached to an outcome and really like removing that second arrow of judgment. And by that I mean like your brain is going to ruminate and be like, I have no power, I'm afraid, I'm flailing it, and that is the rumination of that's the old rumination of everything is terrible and everything is bad and I'm out of control, whatever yours is. As soon as you have the rumination, your job is not to rationalize all of the facts around the rumination. It's just to ping pong it back out into the universe and practice non attachment. It's not your job to solve the thing. The thing does not need to be solved. Your job is just to come back into non attachment with rumination in itself. I do not attach to the thought, I hand it back to the universe. And really teaching your body to regulate in that moment of, I'm safe, I have been safe, I will pass through this. There is nothing to worry about. And if you don't like ping pong, maybe it's, um, I've been doing the hand motions lately. I think I put it on the last episode, but like, thank you, amygdala, for trying to protect me. I am processing this thing and I let it go. I have trust and faith. I have trust and faith. And it doesn't need to be a God thing. This is really just reminding yourself to remember everything is okay. There is no problem to address. And it is, I know that I said the God thing because I know that, like, for some people, God is a triggering concept and it feels alienating. I remember that myself when I was trying to like move through self help. Every time God came up, I was like, ugh, here we go again. All these people are crazy and now I don't fit in with this group. So I'm not trying to like trigger or alienate anyone. This is really just about remembering truly your job is not to control the world. You can trust your body, you can trust the universe, you can trust fate. It is unwritten. It's not your job to anticipate all that will be. You are not God. You are not fate. Your job is just to regulate your body, Come back into a state of trust and openness where you can be the most creative and the most resourced. You have the access to the most of your brain. And ping pong that rumination back to the universe. In your mind's eye, it's really just releasing yourself of the bad habit of um, toiling under a bridge and thinking you're, fixing something with magic potions when in reality, you're just practicing toxic chemicals in your body. You're just practicing fear in your body. You're not actually solving anything. So just come back into faith, trust, openness energetically in your body. Next tool, there's no comedy in heaven, which is a Mark Twain quote. I think that this is really just to remind yourself there will be ups and downs in your life, and that is what that's part of the interesting story of it. We can't have a boring, flat life experience. It will be varied, it will be complex. There is joy in the work of it. And when you start to think to yourself, like, I just wish everything was fill in the blank perfect, like, I just wish I had $1 billion. That's my fill in the blank perfect. I just wish I had $1 billion. And if you stop and think about it, um, if you were to picture your life from the end of it and you were to look back on all of it, what will you wish you truly had? You will truly wish you had an exciting, rich, colorful life experience full of um, trying hard and making something out of nothing and growth and um, varied experiences. When there's no tension in life, no struggle, no craziness, no, getting your kids ready for camp in the morning and no presenting very difficult things to big groups of people or whatever it is. Without all that stuff, it would be very boring and empty. So, more than anything, this is like a perspective shift. It's like a lens shift to think about what makes for a great life. This is the second half of this tool. If this triggers anybody, skip it. Imagine it doesn't exist. But if you're struggling with body image or you're struggling with feeling fear around your body in any way, another way to reframe it, because your body is like this beautiful friend that is so good to you and is so trying so hard to protect you and get you through this life and make you thrive. Again, if this triggers you, don't do it. But a way to reframe or reset your relationship to your body is to imagine if you are leaving your body, perhaps at the end of your life, or perhaps just in a dream state. But imagine you're departing from your body and then just see it from above. And when you can see your body from above, you can be like, "Oh, I love you. You're amazing." It's like a very different vantage point to see yourself. And you can think of it as like kind of this like amazing friend that's been with you since you entered this universe. So if that helps at all, I thought it was kind of an interesting way to think about it. And if it triggers you, skip it. All right, next tool is a mantra. Begin anywhere. If you get into that state where you're feeling daunted, panicky, overwhelmed, or you kind of get like manic where I don't even know where to start. Everything is wrong. I don't know what to do. Just start. It doesn't matter. There is no correct, perfect path toward any outcome. Just begin any way you know how. And sometimes, if I'm really feeling like completely incapable, like if you're in pain, if you're in like an experience of recent loss, it can be really hard to be uh, productive. And so, what I always tell people to do is be active on anything that is positive whatsoever, including if it's like, I'm going to clean out the drawer of condiments. Anything does not have to be like the big thing on your list. It could be anything, big or small. Just be productive toward anything positive. Just showing yourself having a sense of agency is the most important step. All right, the next tool for not taking things personally, opt out of all. So when you are feeling energetically constricted or down, or you're feeling exhausted, I mean, this is the good shorthand for knowing when you're in a compromised state. Halted, HALTED, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, exhausted, depleted. If you are in any of those states, it's really important not to engage with any life event or story your brain is telling you. You kind of just have to skip it and traverse time and get to a place when you're not in that state. If you can zag and reset your mental state in any way, like I don't know, go in a very cold pool and swim. And if there's anything you can do to like jolt yourself out of the mindset, great. But other than that, I'm like, just skip that day. I feel like going to bed early, or I don't know, if you need rest, that is. If you're in like a depressed state, that's not the best recipe. But this is just a memory to yourself that things are not as they appear. The same goes for any other person in your life. If you are in a relationship and you're noticing any of those symptoms in them, like you can ask yourself by observing their language. Are they in a good mood? Is there joy and flow? Or is there kind of an underlying default to be negative? Are they responding with everything being a slight criticism? Is there a war on words where you can't say the right thing? All of those are clues. That's all the info you need. This is not about you. They're halted, and you just have to skip the interactions as best you can. And the more you can skip it, the more you can avoid any kind of negativity having dominance or more time than it deserves in your lives. So that's just like a rule of being in any funk. Do not engage, um, because you will definitely default if you're in a depleted state. You're gonna read everything and twist everything into this is about me. They don't love me enough. I'm not good. Whatever the thing is that your brain tells you, it's like it's so convincing. It is so hard to believe that you're hallucinating, but you absolutely are. All right, the next tool, oh, a coherence meditation. So this is my brief meditation for if you go into a state of panic or you are in that fear state where you're telling yourself like the fear stories. When you first notice you're in rumination, this is my meditation I want to offer you. Find a nice, calm place to sit, and imagine you have bright white light surrounding you. I like to picture it as this kind of like egg-like, womb-like shape of bright white light around me. And slow your breathing, regulate your breathing. I like to feel my breath as I breathe, put my hand on my heart. And this is the meditation I say. You can use it, or if you want to replace it with something better, I welcome it. Um, I welcome health, wealth, love, beauty, balance, and perfect self expression with grace in a perfect way. And I know I repeated perfect. This is just my meditation. You don't have to use it. And I think this is really just an energy, I don't know, tone setting. It's to really like remember all of the things you want to align with. I want to align with health, wealth, beauty, love, balance, perfect self expression. Perfect self expression is just like my perfect form of expressing who I am. And that is where we are truly in flow state, where we're truly embodying our best selves. And then the ending with grace in a perfect way is just I want these things. It's that's more for people who are superstitious, which I feel like sometimes we get into like oh no, I don't want to say this thing and then bring in some, catch 22 type of scenario. Anyway, that's my meditation. And if you are in that freaking out zone where you're like, oh shit, now everything's going to be wrong, da, 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 that's just a memory to tell yourself, my body knows what to do. I am not God. I am not controlling the world. I have faith in myself. I have faith in everything will be okay because I have always been okay. I have many proof points in my life to know that Everything will work out. You're teaching your body to calm down. All right, the next tool, right speech. I got this from Ann Patchett, I think, the author. This is something I think I'm going to try to do. I love to swear. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think of it as my expression of my inner 15-year-old, but I know for some of you, you do not enjoy it. Um, but your words very much tell your being what will be in your life. And if you correct your words, you will correct things in your life and it will actualize, like directly actualize. So it is a great method for creating change in your life. What I'm describing is you can change your mind and change how you feel about anything. You can also change your actual quality of life by saying only positive things. Just try it as an experiment. Um, so by that I mean like no complaining, no talking shit, maybe no swearing. But just think about something in your life that you tend to be negative about. And it could be something like very practical and normal, like let's say you complain about traffic or you complain about your partner or you complain about um the exhaustion you feel, whatever it is, try only saying the opposite of that or only saying like the things that are truly positive about those things and be really strict with yourself. And what you'll notice is it will actually tell your brain, it will tell your person how to feel about the thing and it will become true. Just try it for like a month, see what happens. All right. The next tool, any anything surrendered is made sacred. This is kind of a catch all tool for the practice of letting go and really accepting powerlessness, which is so freeing. It's such a, like, I think having grown up as a controller, and probably if you relate to that in any way, there is such a feeling of anxiety that is created by any problem that belongs to me or belongs to somebody else. There's this immediate feeling of, how am I going to solve this thing? How am I going to fix it? How am I going to make it all better? And that is not only not true that it's possible for me to fix it or solve it or make it better, it's also causes unhealth in all systems, in all interpersonal systems, but also personal systems in life, to have that immediate feeling of responsibility. So this tool is really just the memory to surrender and put it um, out into the world. Like resume that feeling of trust and faith. Remember that it's not your job to control the universe. So I'm going to offer up a couple of different mantras if you're into those. Let go and let good. Let go and let God, if that's your word. Open up to whatever will be, reminding yourself to give it over to the universe. It's not within your control. You're not solving it by ruminating. And then another version of a mantra, this is now yours. I show me the actions, but this is now yours. Meaning whatever force there is, if that appeals to you. Okay, the next tool, lens reset. When we are in a position of really, really wanting something, I'm going to give an example of, like, I have a lot of creative friends who are constantly pitching things, pitching shows, pitching films. And that is such it changes a person because you are constantly practicing um, a rhythm, a routine of hoping for something and then not getting the thing. That's just a default of that industry or of that type of job, is that you will constantly be pitching things that will not happen. I myself have had that happen so many times, and it over time can really create a different self because of the constant focus on, or the forced, I guess, average of having an experience of not fulfilling something. So this tool is more about shifting your lens, or refreshing your lens, I should say, on focusing on all that is great and all that you love versus the default to what you lack or what you haven't gotten yet. Because when we get graspy, all we really start to focus on is lack. And when you focus on lack, your lens becomes tuned to all the lack. So our vision gets really warped, it becomes our set point. We will start to see all the things that are wrong around the thing that we want, you know? So what we have to do in order to reset your vision, it's like almost like you can fix your eyesight by, let's say your eyes got weaker with distances. You can start to teach your eyes how to see distances again by really trying hard to look at distance. Like the same goes for this. If you are, let's say, only seeing what's wrong with your body, you can teach yourself how to see what's great about your body by starting to quite literally comment on all the things you love about it. So, for example, every time you're in the mirror, I love my beautiful hair. I love my beautiful skin. I thank God, I like thank the universe for all of my amazing whatever. What fill in the blank. That would be your assignment is to start to reset your set point. So, when you are in a state of really, really wanting a job and you're like interviewing for the job and you don't get the job, like your brain, if you get into the attachment of the thing you want too hard, your brain will start to create an energy around, I don't have the thing I want. Does that make sense? It's like unbeknownst to you, you've created this energy of scarcity just via the over attachment to the outcome. You've gotten graspy. So, if you're feeling like you're in the graspy energy, your energy has started to become constricted. You're in the I want, I need, and that is the counterproductive energy. That's the negative set point. So, just really what I'm telling you again is coming back into trust, coming back into faith, coming back into everything is going to work out. I have nothing to worry about. The right help has been selected. I will be guided to it easily. I am already on my way, whatever words you want to put around that. Um, and you know, the the history of your life has proven it to you. Things will work out. Your brain is right now creating a constriction that is like funking everything up. See, I didn't swear that time. It's just creating gunk in you. Um, okay, the next tool, nature hates a vacuum. This is a really great way if you feel like you need to build some momentum, you want to really initiate more openness, more rapid change in your life. Clean your space. Visual feedback is so powerful in actualizing change in your life. If your mind can really instantly recognize newness and potential, you believe it. You get you get more feedback mentally that is new. It catalyzes more insights in you if you can actually like create newness in your space by like cleaning old objects have such energetic charge and emotional charge. I don't know if you've ever had that experience of like you get a box of stuff from your parents and you go through it and you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know this was going to be in here." And it's like a lot comes up and it feels heavy and it feels like you go into these old chapters of yourself energetically. It's like the same goes for the stuff in your house. I'm not ready to let go of swearing. That's what the truth is right there. But that same goes for your like, let's say your closet. So I offer that up as like if you want to create momentum and change, go in your closet, look at like what is A, not relevant to me anymore, is keeping me bound to an old chapter, and B, has some baggage to it. And how can I cleanse this? How can I get some space in me? Okay, the next tool. This is not a problem to solve, it's a paradox to manage. Uh, this is an Esther Perel quote. I think that a lot of the time we are a part of ourselves, maybe an old part of ourselves, gets very stuck in a rumination where we think, but I can't, but I can't do that. That would be so wrong. And this is just something I offer you is to ask, am I maybe okay with this? Can I make space for this to be true? Can this actually be okay after all? And you might find that like there is a new adult self that is like, yeah, no, this is totally fine. This is actually not a big deal at all. There's like a weird old story that might have, we kind of have defaulted to where we think like, no, I can't, I can't absolutely, I cannot do this thing. But maybe it's not a big deal at all. Maybe it's not a big deal to you at all. This is really just a encouragement to entertain the opposite response. No matter what the thing is, no matter what the barrier is for you, maybe it's actually not that big a deal. Maybe we have shed more of the old self than we think. All right, the next tool, maps to shadow. I think I'm constantly trying to do shadow work and I'm constantly like, how do I get to it? Where is it? Where's the shadow? I know that they exist. I just can't like get my hands around the wall to see it. But this is an exercise I wanted to offer you that I personally heard of and I was like trying it out. Who did you have a crush on? This is a journal exercise, by the way. Who did you have a crush on growing up? Maybe that was an artist. Maybe that was a person in your school. Maybe that was an actor, whatever it is, character. And then the second half of the prompt is what about them did you lack and what were you wanting to grow through this crush? Like what in you has kind of like been inhibited by this thing? Or by the whatever perceived no-nos you have in yourself. So usually this character might be somebody who was um, free to express themselves. They were maybe creative, or they were maybe provocative, or maybe they were judgment free. I don't know. I'm just thinking of common things that tend to be in attractive characters. But okay, the second prompt: who in your life is getting under your skin? And this is usually a direct path to figuring out something in you that has been rejected that needs to be fostered. So if you think about like the person that gets under your skin, think about like what is it about them? And I don't mean that triggers you. Like I think if it's a person that triggers you that causes you fear, that's usually because they violate your boundaries. This is different. This is like who do you kind of hate that you're like, don't do it? That this is like a person that you judge and feel anger toward or like judge them for who they are. That is a map to something that is underdeveloped in you that might want to be reclaimed, especially if those figures are coming up in your dreams in any way. Often that's this like unclaimed self that's like, hey, I need some attention. You might want to like do something in honor of me in your life. Um, so that's that tool. And then the last tool I have is a journal exercise as well. Art and love versus scarcity. I touched on this earlier, but there's this very dramatic difference in the quality and the charge and the passion that comes from an act we do that when it's coming from a place of a genuine love or passion or from self versus when we're doing it for sale, like when we're doing to sell it. And and that impetus, that intention is like that locus is everything. And I think sometimes we can get kind of lost, especially if we shift from, let's say you're a creative person and you were always creative and you love to be creative. And then one day you did that creativity as your job. It almost will take away from the joy and the power of how good your craft is because of that simple shift of goal, or the outcome. It's like we get confused into thinking that's where we're supposed to go, that's the merit of the thing, versus you do this because it's coming out of you and you have no other choice but to express it. I recently heard the difference between nonfiction writers and fiction writers. It's nonfiction. The reason people write nonfiction is because they had something happen to them, something terrible happened to them, so they decided they needed to sell their creativity. It wasn't for them anymore, it was for the outcome. No shade on nonfiction writers. Just that was a quote, an Ann Patchett quote. I thought that was interesting, but I just wanted to give you this as a reflection to think about why you are doing any number of things in your life. Anything that you do in your life that you used to do for joy, that you used to do for love, has your intention or your outcome shifted away from because I want to express myself to the fullest? Has it shifted from that unknowingly toward sale? Because it's for sale and I want the sale or I want the success. And if you um have not explored this question, I invite you to write on, like, why are you doing fill in the blank thing? Why are you has it changed? Was it better when you first started? And I think that's like a good healthy check-in to have, because we have sometimes we can come back home to the truest guide energetically we have toward happiness and also reward, which translates to quality, which is like, true passion for what you do is on the same level with quality. I've been thinking a lot about, like, why can't I watch television? I get so bored watching television for the most part. I get so bored watching most every movie. And I think it's because I only really care about things that feel like they're original and art. It's the only thing that interests me. And I think that's true for myself too. Um, Again, no shade on TV, no shade on movies. That's just true for me personally. I also have had to do this reflection for myself. It's like there was a moment in time when I started to get so fixated on what everybody else thought and whatever, metrics I had, and I got lost. I got into this like loop of rumination, and I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. I know why I'm doing it. I have to come home to that and remember where it comes from is authentic, and it can only come from that place. And I can't really calculate the other factors into that process, because if I do, I just get lost. I don't even know what it is anymore. So those are all my tools. I hope they're helpful. And if you have any time to leave a comment, I love to read them. I appreciate everyone that has done that, and on iTunes or Spotify. And if anyone you know would be helped by this, if you could share it with them, that is great as well. In closing, every day we have an opportunity to live through our lives from a place of fear or faith. And that is kind of a vibration. And fear is kind of, you're running from the lion and it's chasing you. And faith is walking up to it and it disappears. So we can recalibrate our energy at any time and it will alter the outcome of our day. And so I'm just going to invite you to do it right now and really just, I always describe it as you're an actor on a stage, you're a character in a play. How do you act fully in a state of trust and faith in your body? Like, relax your belly, relax your throat, relax your shoulders. Really be that character. I have full faith and trust. I am safe. Everything will be okay. You are synonymous with love. No person, no place, no title, no thing is your safety. It's all within you. Just remember, you have trust, you have love, you have faith. This is yours at all times. Come back to that feeling like you're recalling a memory, and know that this is where your body is coherent, it's aligned, your brain is fully online. You are the most resourced. You can see reality for what it is in that state of openness and optimism. I send you my love and smile.